Okay, everybody, I've got the beef stroganoff recipe that I told you all that I would do, and also the pineapple cake. And the pineapple cake looks like this, and I'm going to walk you through it. And it's a very, very rich cake. Tomorrow, I'll be able to live stream, so it'll make it a little easier doing these. So first, I thought I would go over the ingredients for the pineapple cake. And this cake is really easy to make. A lot easier than what you could even possibly imagine. And then I will walk you through the beef stroganoff and the noodles that I made. So anyway, you need to get a 9 by 13 inch cake pan like this, because this is the cake. I just cut a piece so you can see it. And grease it. You just grease it. You don't flour it for this cake. And you preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And what you're going to do is you're going to get 2 cups of flour, and you're going to sift that flour, and you're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a pinch of salt. And just kind of mix that together with a whisk and set it aside in a bowl. Next, you're going to take the next ingredients are all going to be in one bowl, and you're going to mix this and then add your flour mixture, like I said. And this does not have any butter or shortening in the cake. It's actually, you're going to get the butter in the icing. So anyway, you're going to take 1.5 cups of regular sugar. You're going to take 2 large eggs, 1 large can of crushed pineapple, and a teaspoon of vanilla. And you're going to take and combine all that. Put the sugar in, the 1.5 cups of sugar, the 2 eggs, and they need to be large eggs, actually. And you want a large can of crushed pineapple, and you pour the juice, all of it in, everything. You put it all in there. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And you need to take and whisk that together real good until it's real smooth, as much as you can with the pineapple's going to be in there. Then next you're going to take and add your flour mixture real good, and you're going to pour that in your pan and put it in the oven. And I can tell you on this cake, you need to watch it, check it at about 20 minutes, but you need to watch it because you're going to think it's not cooking fast enough, and all at once it'll be done. It'll sneak up on you. So anyway, when you remove the cake, you're going to let it cool for maybe 5 minutes, and you're going to take, if you've got like a shish kebab skewer or like a serving size meat fork, something you can poke holes in the cake without tearing it, you need to take and poke holes in the top of your cake, because you're going to make an icing on top of the stove that's going to go on it. And the icing, you're going to take, you don't need a big pan, just a regular size pan. You're going to take a cup of sugar, a 1/2 cup of softened butter, 2/3 cup of evaporated milk, a teaspoon of vanilla. And you're going to whisk that together, and you're going to let that come to a soft, get hot and just start to come to a little bit of a boil, but watch it. You don't want to burn it or anything. And then you're going to add 1 cup of flaked coconut in it, and also a cup of nuts. And I used chopped walnuts. I crushed some chopped walnuts up, put in there, but you can use pecans also would be good in there. And you're going to cook that until it'll come to a soft boil, and just cook it for maybe about 3 minutes, just until you'll be able to tell when it gets thick to go on the cake. And then you're going to immediately take that over to your cake, and you're going to ice that cake, and it will set up, and it will look like this. It will set up and look like this. And like I said, this is a really dense, really rich cake. I mean, you need like a strong cup of coffee to go with it, or a strong cup of hot tea. I'm just telling you, it's really a very rich cake. So that's the ingredients for the pineapple cake. Next, you can use cooked rice. We prefer the egg noodles, and we buy them in the store in the packages. These are actually the little, they're actually the little dumpling noodles. I didn't get the actual egg noodles, the white egg noodles. They're called little dumpling noodles because that's what they had, and they've been so short of everything. But I got a package of these and cook these. And don't overcook them. Don't cook them till they're mushy. Just cook them, till they're like you do spaghetti, till it's like al dente, because it's going to cook more when you put your sauces on. Now to get to the Salisbury steak, and I'm going to show you something that I did. Actually, the stew meat, the shredded meat for the stroganoff is expensive. So what I did, I had a roast, and this roast was $11, and this is half of what's left. I took that, and when it was still partially frozen, I took and shredded that meat, and I got as much as I wanted. And this is about, I'll show you about what the meat looks like in here. Let me see if I can find a piece in here and it is so tender. Pieces like this. I took it and shredded it in pieces about like this. And I put it in a baggie with just pepper only and some meat tenderizer. Be very careful with your salt, because this stuff has a lot of salt content in it, and you're going to think it's too salty until you go to stir your sour cream in it, which will be one of the last things that you do. Anyway, I wanted to explain it to you about this, because I'm also going to use this. I have stew meat for the stew, but I'm going to use this for my daughter makes faux soup, and I'm going to cut up a little bit of thin strips, about a third of this, and the rest of them I'm going to cut up in cubes and put meat tenderizer on it, put it in a baggie, and I'm going to put it on some shish kebabs that I'm going to make this weekend. Just going to have shrimp and the meat on it. I was going to use chicken, but this is so tender. I mean, I was just shocked, so I'm going to use it instead. So anyway, let's get back to the stroganoff. And what I do, you're going to take, and like I said, I don't measure things, so I really measured as much as I could, so I would have pretty accurate ingredients for you. 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil, or you could use olive oil, and 4 tablespoons of butter. And you're going to put that in a pretty good sized skillet. And you're going to let that, get a little hot. You're going to take, which that's a total of 8 tablespoons, 4 of the butter and 4 of the oil. And you're going to take 4 tablespoons of flour. And you're going to, when that oil and butter gets hot, you're going to incorporate that that flour in there, kind of like to make a roux, and let that get a little hot. Then you're going to take 1 can of beef broth, and I took 1 can of cream and mushroom soup, and I measured the cream and mushroom soup empty can full of milk. So it's a can of, also a soup container of milk, 1 of the small beef broths, and the cream and mushroom soup. And that's going to go in, that's going to make the basis for your gravy, for your stroganoff. And you're going to let that get thicken, and you're just going to set it off to the side, because what you're going to do next, you're going to take in another skillet, and you're going to take 1 large onion, and you're going to slice it, and you're going to take an 8-ounce package of, I got the little white button mushrooms, and slice them up, and you're going to take and saute them in a little bit of butter and oil until they're tender. And when they'll start to cook for about 5 minutes, they start getting cooking, you're going to take, I took actually thyme and put in there, and I used about a half a teaspoon of thyme, a good heaping half teaspoon thyme. I put a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of onion powder, and I put about a half a teaspoon of black pepper with the vegetables while they're cooking. Because you're going to remove those vegetables and put them in a bowl, and you're going to put a little bit more oil in there, and then you're going to take your meat that you shredded, which I took mine, I put it in a baggie, and I put just some pepper and meat tenderizer on it, and I left it in the refrigerator a couple hours, and it is just, I mean, you can cut it with a fork, it is so tender. So it's just a suggestion, and it's a lot cheaper because I'm going to get like 3 meals, and pretty good sized meals like this. You know, where you can feed, you know, 4 or 5 people, and then you've got where you're going to have the meat for the shish kebabs with other stuff, and then like for the faux soup. So there's 3 meals that's got out of that $11 piece of roast. So anyway, back to the recipe. When you get that meat in there and you're cooking it, you know, don't overcook your meat. Just make sure you get it. I mean, you don't even have to cook it done. Some people like theirs about medium well, and it is beef, so you can do that. But I wouldn't do it medium rare because you want blood in your stroganoff sauce. So when that's done cooking, the meat's done getting brown, just leave it in the skillet. You're going to take and return your vegetables to that, and it should be a deep enough skillet, guys, to where you can get everything back in there. So you're going to put, the meat's going to be in there. You're going to take your veggie mix and you're going to put that in there. Then you're going to take your gravy mix and you're going to put that on top of there. Now, when this gets hot all the way through, if it's too thick, you can take and thin it out. You don't want it real thin, but you want it real thick. You want like consistency of a gravy. But what I always started to say was, you can thin it out with just some more milk. Just add a little bit more milk in there gradually, or half and half. Or you can actually take and well, you could, like I said, you could just use, I would suggest using milk or half and half in there to thin it out. But if it's not thick enough, just take a little bit of flour, maybe a tablespoon, start out with, and just make a little slurry. Just get some warm water and just beat it with a whisk, that tablespoon of flour, and just stir it back in there, and that'll thicken it back up. Because the last ingredient you're going to use, and you want to put in right before you're ready to serve it, you're going to want to put about a cup to a cup and a half of sour cream in there. And that's going to give you, because this mixture here is going to have a tendency to be, with the beef broth and the cream of mushroom soup, it's going to have a tendency to be a little salty, but the sour cream will cut that salt. That's why I said don't add more salt to it. So anyway, that's, and then like I said, you can serve it on rice, but we're gonna have it on these noodles. So again, that's for the stroganoff. Tomorrow I am going to make beef stew, and I'm trying to remember if I told you or not. On the icing, I think I missed an ingredient, because let me go over those again with you. I think I did. It's a half a cup of butter and a cup of sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and you're going to take and mix that on the stove. But I forgot to tell you the 2/3 cup of evaporated milk. So it's 2/3 cup of evaporated milk, a cup of sugar, and a teaspoon of the vanilla in there, because that's what you're going to take in your vanilla, sugar, and your evaporated milk. And you can put a little pinch of salt in there too, to kind of where that it's just not overly sweet, because it's pretty sweet. And you're going to let that get hot all the way through. I don't think I told you about the evaporated milk, and I apologize for that. But then the last thing, when that gets thick and it gets hot, or not real thick, but when it gets hot all the way through, take and add your cup of coconut and your cup of chopped nuts, and stir that. Cook it for about you don't want to cook it hard, just, like on a medium heat, and stand there and stir it because it will stick and burn. So make sure you watch it, you're stirring it. And just for like about 3 minutes until it starts to thicken to where it's spreading consistency for your cake. Because that icing is this icing is going to go on your cake while it's hot, and it is moist. And if you look here, I can show you with this cake. I mean, it's a very moist cake. It really is. It kind of reminds me it's actually between a cake and a sweet, like if you'd make pumpkin bread or banana bread or something. It's kind of got the consistency between bread and cake. So, but it's very rich and it's very sweet. So anyway, that's the beef stroganoff with the noodles. Like I said, you can use any brand of sour cream. You just stir the sour cream in at the end. And like I said, if this this is the consistency that I have. The gravy is about like this. You can see it's, and like I said, if it's too thick, you thin it out with a little bit of milk. Don't pour a whole bunch in there, but just gradually put like 1/4 of a cup in at a time. And then that's if it's too thick. If it's too thin, then make a slurry, like I said, with like a tablespoon. Start up with a tablespoon of flour in a little warm water and beat it good with a whisk and stir that in there so it doesn't lump up. So you'll have that consistency again. Because once you put the sour cream in, it's going to thicken it in. And you don't cook that, once this is hot all the way through, don't add your sour cream and then cook it again. Because you can heat it up, but don't cook it again because the sour cream will break down. So tomorrow I'm going to do beef stew, and I'm going to make some cornbread to go with that. And tomorrow's Thursday, and I thought maybe Friday I would make the shrimp and beef shish kebabs with some rice, because that's what we're going to have. We're going to have it, it'll either be Friday or Saturday or Sunday. And I'm making chicken fried steak with cube steak with mashed potatoes and gravy. I'm going to make that also. And I'm going to show you a recipe for easy homemade biscuits that are very economical. And I'm going to make a little bit of sausage gravy just to show you how to do that. And maybe fry a few potatoes, because you can have that kind of stuff for breakfast, or you can have it for lunch, or you can have it for dinner, and you can scramble up some eggs, and you've got your gravy with your biscuits and fried potatoes and some eggs. And sometimes you don't even need the eggs. I mean, a lot of people will slice tomatoes and they'll have fried potatoes and the sausage gravy with the biscuits. So it's just, there's a lot of things you can do. But I'm going to just start trying to do whatever recipes or whatever we're eating through the week. I'm going to try to make, go live and do those with you so y'all can see how to do it. But now the stew will be, it'll start out browning the meat a little bit in a skillet and then transferring it to a crock pot and letting it cook in there. And I will go over that with you tomorrow when they start. I'm not sure exactly what time I'm going to do that. It's probably going to be, I'm going to say probably tomorrow around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. I'll do that. So anyway, there you are with, like I said, your pineapple cake and your beef stroganoff. So that'll give you another idea for something that's, and like I said, using a roast like this. It is a boneless, round roast, as you can see, and it does have the marbleization in it. But I just took a serrated knife and I sliced that real thin. But there's still enough here for the meat chunks for the shish kebabs. And I don't need a lot for the pho, only about half of what's in here, because there's a lot of veggies that's put in the pho soup. So you just have a little bit of meat. But it's just an idea to save you all some money. So you got an $11 piece of meat there that you can get 3 meals out of. Or I could actually, if you don't want to, even like I have the stew meat, you could actually take what I'm using for the pho and cut that up for your stew meat. And there you would have for the stew, and you have it for the beef stroganoff, and you have it for your shish kebabs. And I'm just going to buy a little, I think it's $5.63 for a package of the raw deveined shrimp at Walmart's. I'm going to get a bag of that and just season that up in a different container when I season the meat for the shish kebabs. And I'm going to use some colored bell peppers, some mushroom. I'm going to put some red onion on there, maybe some cherry tomatoes, something like that on those skewers. So anyway, I'll give you a little bit, and I'll make some kind of a rice to go with that. So I hope y'all are having a good day, and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks for watching.